many times I hear from parents and caregivers that my child is a very picky eater. There are many ways to deal with the picky toddler, but today we're going to learn about how shopping at the farmer's market and getting your kid involved in the kitchen can help increase the variety of the foods that they're eating. I'm Kimberly Christie, a registered dietitian, and if you're ready, let's get started. Feeding a very picky family without you being a short order cook is to have a build your own meal night. Today we're going to be making a few different basic recipes, including some grilled veggies, a peach and blueberry salsa, and a few different kinds of dressings. That way you can take these basic recipes and add them to several different recipes, including some quesadillas, a panini, some salads. You could do a grain bowl, you could do some pasta, you can do some rice, taco night. Who doesn't love Taco Tuesday? The first dressing we're going to make is a balsamic vinaigrette. Now this is a recipe that my dad taught me when I was a little girl, and to this day my sisters and I still make it. It's one of the recipes that basically you start off with some balsamic vinegar and some olive oil. Most recipes when making a dressing, it's going to have 2 parts olive oil, 1 part vinegar. I tend to like a bit more vinegar than olive oil, and it also cuts back on some calories. So this is definitely a recipe that you can play around and figure out what you like best. After I take the balsamic vinegar and the olive oil, I normally will add some garlic, sometimes I'll add some onions, and I usually will add some salt and pepper. And sometimes I'll do a dry mustard, and other times I'll do Dijon mustard, other times no mustard at all. Really up to you. So tonight we're going to add the balsamic vinegar, the olive oil, the garlic, and then the seasonings. You can totally measure things out. I usually just eyeball it. I have it in a mason jar tonight and then just shake it up. This is something the kids may love to do. And voila, we have a dressing. Okay, another dressing that you can make is taking that basic balsamic vinegar dressing that you made and then adding some kind of fruit to it, like blueberries, which are in season right now at the farmer's market. You could also do strawberries, raspberries, blackberries, any kind of fruit that you would like. This adds a little bit of extra sweetness to the dressing, and it adds an ingredient that your kid knows. So most kids love blueberries. Now this dressing is really simple. You take your balsamic vinegar. This is my dad's recipe. Add that. You're going to add about a 1/2 cup of blueberries. And then you're going to add a little bit of honey if you want it a little extra sweeter. Again, remember, if your kid's under 1, this is not a dressing for them. So we'll just add that honey right on in there. Now this recipe does do well if you have a blender or an immersion blender, because it will blend the blueberries a bit better for you. I love my immersion blender, so we're going to do this. And we're going to blend. Now that we have this dressing, a couple things that kids can help with is pressing the button on the blender, or they can hold the button on the other thing that you can do if you don't have a blender is you could take a fork or some kind of potato masher and mash up the blueberries that way. Okay, now this third dressing can also be used as a dip, and it's completely different than the first 2 dressings that we made. This is called the Grain Goddess recipe, and it was very popular in the 70s and 80s in California. It's usually made with mayonnaise, but we're going to do some yogurt today. And then the reason why I love this recipe this time of year is, if you can see, you have a variety of herbs that you can use. So today I have some cilantro, I have some parsley, I have some dill, I have some chives. Other herbs that would be great in this is some mint, some basil, if you have tarragon. So the other thing I have is a jalapeno. I'm not going to add this today because it does add some spice, which can be a little much for kids. But if you like it extra spicy, like me, then a jalapeno. I have some garlic. Something extra that I add to this recipe that's not normally traditional is some lemon juice, and sometimes I'll add a little bit of olive oil. Now this recipe, if you have a Cuisinart, is ideal, but if you don't have one, you could use a blender. With a blender, you'll probably want to double the amount of yogurt that you use in it just to give it enough traction to blend. If you don't have either, you can actually just chop up all of the ingredients pretty small. But for today, we're going to be using the Cuisinart. So I'm going to take a cup of yogurt, and we're going to add that. This is just plain Greek yogurt. So there's a lot of great protein in this. Add some dairy. It gives your kids some calcium. Next, I'm going to take this parsley, and I've already cleaned it. The easiest way to do this for this recipe is just to tear off the tops of it. Just add that. You're going to add some cilantro. Again, just tear. Add that. Now, I like to add a little bit of green onion. So let me show you how to cut this green onion. So I have 3 of them here. I can have it grow out of my ears. No, just kidding. Okay, again, play with the kids, right? So here are the roots. So we're just going to cut that off. And I have already washed these. And then I'm going to cut off the tops of these here. So this is the part of the green onions that we're going to add. You can chop it a little bit. Add that. Garlic. I'm going to chop that some. And you can just very coarsely chop this because this is going to do the most of the work for you. We got some chives. It's just taking over the world. No, okay, here we go. Now we have all the green hair that we can put in here. And then last but not least, I'm going to add just a little bit of dill. And here you're just going to use the little bit tops of the flowers here. And again, you can just tear it off. Again, the reason why I love this recipe so much this time of year is that we have so many amazing herbs at the farmers markets. If you're not sure how an herb tastes like, talk to the farmer. They might be able to tear off a little piece for you to try. The other thing is you can take the herb and take the leaf, take it in your fingers and just rub it together a little bit and smell it. It's going to release all of the natural oils, and a lot of times the smell, you'll be able to tell whether or not you like that flavor. I have all of these wonderful herbs in with my yogurt. I personally, again, like to add a little bit of lemon juice. This just adds a little bit of an acid, which helps to brighten it up a little bit. You can add some salt and pepper. If you wanted to, this is the time that you could add the jalapeno. I would cut off the edge here. If you want it extra spicy, leave all of the seeds, leave the pith. If you want it just a little bit spicy, you can scoop out the seeds. Just make sure once you cut the jalapeno open that you wash your hands real well so that you don't touch your eyes or your face and have burn yourself. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and blend this and then I'll be right back. Okay, we're back. I blended up all of the ingredients and we have our green goddess dressing or dip. Now, because we're using fresh herbs, play around with it depending on which herbs you're going to use. After trying this, I decided it was a little tart, so you could add a little bit of honey to it if you wanted to sweeten it up a little. But you can use it as a dip, or later I'll show you what else you can add it to. Okay, now that we have some salad dressings made, what I want to do is the easiest of the build your own meals, and that's build a salad. All you need is some lettuce and toppings, and then let your kid put the different toppings that they want in their bowl. So right now I have some blueberries, I have some corn, I have some feta cheese, we have some tomatoes, some cucumbers, and this yummy blueberry dressing that we made. tonight I'm going to make a kale salad. Now, kale is not something we always think about for salads because it can be more bitter than what we're used to, especially for kids. It can also be a bit more tough. So I wanted to give you a couple of tips that you can use to make it more tender, as it may be, because a lot of the farmers at this time of year does have kale. So first off, we have kale. If you look here, there's the stem that's down the middle. This stem can be pretty tough, and a lot of kids and most adults that I know don't like the stem. Does it have a lot of fiber? Yes. Is it pleasant to eat? Not all the time. So an easy way to get this stem out is just to hold the bottom and then to pull. So let's do that again. So we're going to hold the bottom and pull. Stem, leaf. Okay, so now that we have deveined the kale, you'll tear it up and put it in a bowl. Now this kale, straight from the farmer's market, is pretty sweet and tender because it's young. The younger the kale, the more tender it will be and the sweeter it will be. Later in the season, it can become a bit more tough. One of the ways that you can make it a little less tough is add a little bit of salt to it. So I'm just going to season a little bit. Not too much because we don't want it too salty. And then get your kids in here and you're just going to start massaging. So this is going to start breaking down the fibers a little bit of the kale. And it will start to make it a little bit more tender. The way that you'll know that it is done is that the leaves will start to turn a little bit extra dark. Okay. So we're just finishing massaging up here. Now, as always, make sure everyone washes their hands really well before you start playing with the food. All right. So we have some nice massaged kale. Now, you can do a couple different things. You could put the lettuce in a bowl and then let the kids pick which toppings they want. Or you can make just a nice big salad. So I'm going to add some blueberries. I'm going to add some nice corn that we cooked from and cut off the stalk, cob. We're going to add some cherry tomatoes. I love the cherry tomatoes this kind of year. We have different colors, so this here is a bit yellow and purplish. It's a lot sweeter than some of the red ones. Some of the orange ones can be super sweet. So just be sure to talk to your farmer when you're buying produce at the market and ask them, how do their tomatoes taste? Cut them in half or quarter them so that they're not a choking hazard. And cucumbers is another produce that's available at the market right now. Cucumbers is another food that most kids know, so it's an easy food to add to. All right. Since we already have our hands in here, we can use our hands to toss the salad. And then this blueberry dressing that we made earlier, it's already made. We'll just pour a little bit of this on. And then we'll toss that up. All right, now that we have our salad toss, we can have this in the fridge. And because we used kale, you could make this the day before or in the morning and let it sit. Since kale is a hardier lettuce, it won't get as soggy in the fridge if you have to let it sit for a while. Now, if you were doing a salad with the kids that you wanted to eat right away, using a butter lettuce or a romaine lettuce and letting them build their salad right as they eat dinner is a great idea. Now, a lot of kids love cheese. It seems like sometimes that's all they want to eat. So with this, you can add some cheese right before serving. I wouldn't add it too soon because the acid from the vinaigrette could start to break it down. This here is a feta cheese. It's a little bit more pungent, so you may love it, your kids may not. You could also try a mozzarella cheese or something like that. So again, play around. Comment below how you would want to change this recipe or what foods you think your kid would like in this salad. Okay, now we're going to make a salsa. Specifically tonight, we're going to make a peach and blueberry salsa. But really, the great thing about salsas is that you can use whatever ingredients that you find at the farmer's market. So right now we do have peaches and blueberries in season. Now, there are a couple different kinds of peaches. I've already peeled this and diced it. To the farmer, you can ask about what type of pit does it have, whether it's freestone or not. Freestone, when you cut it, it's going to come off the seed very, very easily. If it's not, then it's a little bit harder to come off the seed. It's the opposite, right? So this one was not a freestone, but for a peach salsa, that's fine because we're dicing it up so it doesn't have to look pretty. So to make this salsa today, I'm just going to add some peaches. We are going to add some more blueberries. Let's see, we'll do about half of that. We're going to add some diced tomatoes. We're going to add some cucumbers. Now, one of the things that's great about cooking with your kids in your kitchen together is making the fun memories. One of the most fun memories I have in the kitchen was cooking with my grandmother. And whenever we cut up cucumbers, she would be like, "You're as cool as a cucumber." And when we peeled the skins, we would peel it off and then she would stick it on my skin here, and man, does it cool you off. Yes, you look like a dork, but you know what? It's been, I don't know how many years, and I still have that memory. So, something fun. It's good for your skin too. Now this here is a pepper. It's a bell pepper. This is specifically kind of a yellow-white pepper. Bell peppers are all going to taste different. So the greener it is, the less sweet it is. And then as it moves to colors from like green to yellow to orange to red, it becomes sweeter. And just like tomatoes, when they're green tomatoes and then they turn red, it's the same bell pepper that changes to that color. So today we're going to use this white one. The red ones would be great because it would add a little bit sweetness to it, but they're not quite ready this time of year. So use what we got. And then I'm going to add some lime juice. I'm going to add some pepper. And I'm going to add a pinch of salt. And I will cut up this cilantro and add some cilantro. Now, if you want to make it spicier, you can, again, cut up some jalapeno peppers, or you can also add some onions. And once we have this all mixed up, this can be used for so many different things. You can add this on top of a salad. So say you wanted that kale salad that we made earlier, and you don't want to have to chop everything up. A lot of those ingredients are the same, right? You can add this on top of a quesadilla. You can add this on top of some pork or some chicken. It will add a little bit of moisture to it, so that way it won't be as tough for the kids to eat. The other thing is that this is just full of color. Kids and honestly adults, we love color in our food. So a nice salsa is a great way to do that. So I'm going to go ahead, mix this up, and we'll be right back. All right, I've mixed up all of the ingredients and we have a salsa here. Now again, if you let this sit, the flavors will meld together a little bit. If you want to make it spicier, you can add that jalapeno. You can add a little bit of chili powder to this. Again, this is one of those recipes that you don't need to follow a recipe. Just add what you like. Alrighty, so we're going to put this aside. We're going to go ahead and start our grilled veggies. And then we're going to see how all of these basic recipes can make some delicious meals for your family. Okay, for the third recipe, we're going to make some grilled veggies. And today we're going to use some eggplant. This is a Japanese eggplant, and the skin is much more tender. It's not as thick as the regular eggplant that you find at the stores, so you don't have to peel it. We're also going to use some zucchini and some yellow squash. We have some green peppers, we have some tomatoes, and basically whatever veggies you find at the market, you can go ahead and grill up. Now that first dressing that we made, my dad's balsamic vinegar, I went ahead and cut up the veggies and I went ahead and marinated the veggies in the dressing. Now you do not need to do this, you can just add a little bit of olive oil on here and cook it that way, but this just adds a little bit of a different taste to it. So we're going to do that tonight. You can grill these veggies outside on a grill. Today we're going to be using the 3-in-1 griddle, so that way we can do it inside. Alrighty, so what we're going to do is we're just going to start off by putting a little oil on the grill. And right now I just have the one side with the grill because we're going to see what we're going to do with the griddle part later. So we're going to go ahead, I'm going to put some tomatoes on here, and we'll put some zucchini and some yellow peppers, and we're going to put some of the eggplant. And this is going to be wonderful for build your own meal because the kids can put really whatever veggies they want on here. Now you want to be careful, this does get hot, so you don't want them to burn themselves. But we'll just go ahead and load it up with some veggies. Now this is going to go ahead and cook, and we'll be back after I got some cooked veggies for you. Okay, we are back now with some of our basic recipes. We have our green goddess dressing. We had our balsamic vinegar dressing that we used for our grilled veggies. We had our blueberry dressing that we used for a salad. And now I have some quinoa. I have my pico. I have some WIC-approved whole grain tortillas and our grilled veggies. So with just these ingredients, and then if you have a few other things, like if you want to do some shredded chicken, you can make several meals. The first meal we're going to make is a tortilla. So I'm just going to put the tortilla, first one down here, and this is where your kids can get involved. So it's like, okay, what type of cheese do you want? You can have a couple different cheeses. You can sprinkle that on. If you have pesto, you could put that on. And then you can say, all right, do you want some chicken? Maybe they put some chicken on there. You can have the grilled veggies, and you can either have them together like so, or you can have them separate, so they can say, oh, I'll take some eggplant or some tomatoes, you know, and then you can let them add that on here. And we'll just scoop, scoop, scoop. And then while this is heating up and cooking, we'll add just a little bit more cheese on top, so that way it will melt, get all melty. And we'll put this on here. So that will start to heat up. That is if you turn it on. So we'll turn that on and that will start to heat up and cook. But while that's cooking, one of the other things you could do is a quinoa salad. So you can take the quinoa and add the grilled veggies to it. And if you look in the description link below, I'll have a link to the blog post with all of these recipes. And with that, you can see that there's different dressings you can use for the grilled veggies. So you don't have to use my dad's vinaigrette for this particular, for the different veggies. Season it up. Now this would be great to add some like fresh mint to it. You could add some fresh basil to it to really pop the flavors out that way. You could just have grilled veggies as a salad, so have this nice and cold. Much like the recipe that we did last episode where we had the roasted zucchini and summer squash and chicken, then you could put this over a bed of lettuce. And then with this pico here, once this is all cooked up, we can slice this. They can add a little bit of pico on it. If they want to add a little bit of the green goddess dip, they can add that on it. So you can see it's like a mix and match. So, you know, you can take a little bit of A, they could take a little bit of B, you know, Johnny over here can take a little bit of C. It's a great way. That way you're not making several different meals, but you can pull out what you have and let them make their own meal. Kids love to be independent. But again, you're not being a short order cook. So I'm going to go ahead and let this heat up since I forgot to turn it on, and then I will show you the quesadilla at the very end. Okay, so as we finish up this episode this week, think about your family as a whole. Think about what do your kids like? What do you like? Can you go shopping together at the farmer's market? Let the kids pick out something that they really enjoy. Cucumbers, tomatoes, blueberries, peaches, those are usually things that they'll recognize. And then instead of being a short order cook and cooking several different meals, if you just cook a few different ingredients and have them around the house, then you can add them into several different things. If you don't like the taste of vinegar, don't necessarily do the my dad's balsamic vinegar, but instead you could do a little bit of lime juice and add a little bit of mint and make it more of a Mexican style. Really, this is just an idea of where to get started. And remember, in the description below, I'll have a link to our blog that has all of these recipes. Mix and match the recipes, figure out tastes that your kids like or that you like, and as a family, be as cool as a cucumber.